I think you can really tell that I'm having a lot of fun with the Slaanesh editions. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we are back with another battle. Myself versus War Master of Moloch. I'll be running a Slaanesh Chaos Warrior themed list. A little bit mixed because people are wondering how it's going to work with mostly warriors, and I've been using a lot of the pleasure seekers, so I figured this was probably going to be the best way to go, where I've got Dechala The Denied One, an exalted hero on Slaanesh with a pleasure seeker because, again, you know I do like the mount. 5 marauders of Slaanesh with the whips. 3 units of Slangors, we've got 3 units of Hellstriders with the whips once again, and a unit of Champions of Slaanesh. Playstyle is going to be kind of similar because obviously Slaanesh is very fast moving in and out. I did try to bring up as much variety as possible, but there's only so much you could do. The Slaanesh units are very, very expensive, but we do have a lot of variety in the second army, helmed by War Master of Moloch. We have a load of different greenskins here, where it is a Orc War Boss, a Troll Hag, one of the better heroes for the greenskins, I'd say, a unit of Goblins with Sword and Board, another unit with Spear and Shield, 1 unit of Orc Boys with Spear and Shield, 2 units of Night Goblins with Sword and Board, 3 units of Black Orcs with great weapons, very, very popular. 2 units of Night Goblins with bows. 3 units of Orc Arrow Boys. A unit of Mangler Squigs. A unit of Squig Hoppers. And finally, some Rock Lobbers. A very diverse army from War Master Moloch, probably just coming off a recent Gorbad campaign. So, I'm going to be pushing in quite a lot, whereas Moloch in this battle seems to hold down quite a bit. I guess it's because he's got a lot of range, but what he has done is secure all his fronts. So my plan is simple. I'm going to try and hit them from every side and try and knock out some of those archers before they become too much of a problem, as, yeah, while I'm very much shielded and my Champions of Slaanesh / Dechala are very good at holding down the arrow fire, you know, focus fire can be a problem. Spirit Leech is also going to be a major problem there. It is a very big map, and there are a lot of trees to provide some cover, which is why I found it very interesting that the greenskins in general were very much in the center, probably to avoid any problems that could end up with units routing. But I do have my Hell Scourges coming in from the side, Hellstriders being one of my favorite units since the release of Warhammer 3, because, I mean, well, big fan of Slaanesh, aren't I? So anytime I get to use them, I will definitely do so. The greenskins are so tightly packed up, I had to try and kind of find some sort of opening. Now, I did have a unit going off. Basically, I was trying to go through the side, but the Squig Hoppers and the Mangler Squigs caught me super off guard. I'm actually really impressed with the fact that those units, especially the Mangler Squigs, are essentially very stealthy. But I'm going to have to make do. I still have my Hellstriders going aside, and by this point, you know, my Marauders are getting quite close. This is the thing. They are relatively quick. It's just they are going to be taking some very heavy hits. It is actually quite impressive when you start to see all the different changes in playstyle compared to campaign, because obviously when you're playing against another human, things get a lot different. But more or less the same in certain cases, where my exalted hero is going straight for the war boss to try to take out the character, get that leadership hit in as soon as possible. And to be honest, I shouldn't have gone for the war boss. I should have gone for the spellcaster, but hindsight is 2020, and I'm not too sure how well the exalted hero does against large entities. That being said, the battle is joined now, where all my troops are just slamming right in. I'm coming in from behind where possible, try to take out as many of the archers and also the rock lobber, as it can hit and it can do quite good damage. The charges on Hellstriders have always been wonderful. They're much stronger on the pleasure seekers, but hey, I did promise no demons for a battle. Well, barring Dechala, but she's more of a mutation. The great thing about most of my units is that there is some decent armor piercing there with the Hell Scourges alongside the Champions of Slaanesh, which are very, very good blunder units and very capable about doing some big damage to the Black Orcs, which are probably one of the things that I need to worry about the most. Black Orcs being some of the best melee infantry units that we do have available in-game at the moment. But it's mostly just a cluster splitting and doing as much damage, waiting for those Mangler Squigs to come in. They're going to be a massive problem. They are so good at dealing with hordes, and obviously they do have the explosion when they die off, which can be, well, less than ideal for a player like myself. You know, I like to pack up my troops. His lord is already routing, his hero is pretty much almost gone. The demonic steed being fantastic to wade through enemy lines if needed. we can see here that it's pretty much halfway at the moment. The balance of power hasn't really shifted much at all, which is wild, but it is because the orcs are going to be doing so much damage and basically keeping up with the damage that I am doing. I've split them up quite terribly, though. The Greenskins are now basically all across the map, which works in my favor. This is more or less what I want. Characters are already basically gone, and this means that I can now focus around taking Dechala, who's very, very good at melee combat, taking her straight into the Black Orc lines, doing as much as I can over there. But I don't have to worry about Spirit Leech coming in, and I don't have to worry about a War Boss, so they're going to be taking all the leadership hits now. Slangors themselves have been performing pretty damn well, which is actually quite nice to see. I'm still not too sure how I feel about them being additional hand weapon troopers rather than having a javelin or something, but they do definitely do a lot of damage, and it does give us some additional hand weapon options, which are really missing right now with the Warriors of Chaos, with Slaanesh and the Monogods too. Additional hand weapons being one of those types of units that you'd actually bring quite a lot in the tabletop bag during 8th edition. Not so much right now with Old World. I think that's because mostly of the combat changes when it comes to the Old World. By this point you can see the Greenskins are basically done. They just have some units which are unbreakable. It works out for me. It's one of those matches that have been very good. I think I've done better with Slaanesh than I have with any other race that we've played with so far, but it's because this is a faction that I've been playing constantly since essentially the release of Warhammer 3 and then Champions of Chaos coming in, which was wonderful overall. So you can see stat-wise, I mean, yeah, the Slaanesh units do really well. The Marauders mostly being there to hold down the line. The Champions of Slaanesh doing amazing damage. Hell Scourge mounts doing really, really well. Again, can't really knock on the Slangors. Fantastic damage overall. There wasn't too much damage coming out from the Greenskins themselves, barring really one unit of Night Goblins, which I think had some Fanatics, and then obviously the Black Orcs doing damage, and the Mangler Squigs and Hoppers because they can get from behind. Overall, I think it was a pretty good game. Very short, but some of the games have been short. This is how it goes. I think just Slaanesh is in a pretty good spot, and again, being very experienced with Slaanesh helps me here, whereas Moloch, I don't think played a lot of Greenskins, actually. So yeah, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. There's more coming. There's a lot more videos coming. I'll see you all again very, very soon.